Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, okay, for the, I'm in.
So moved on.
Hey, Sergio.
I said,
Welcome,
I
Mr.
said,
Sergio.
Right.
It's kind of scary on the side.
I've got these if you want.
Well, we order continental cold, and when they come in, we'll get you one. We're not
Oh, yeah, I
even,
was
right?
looking.
No,
Oh, okay.
they're coming, they should be here hopefully this week.
Okay, good.
This is like the winter version.
Yeah, I don't have
Yeah,
any-
this is for snowmobiling to
Saran wrap.
How far is your house?
About 35 minutes.
Oh.
No, you are three.
But 3 plus 3.
Yeah.
What's the cut down?
It's not cattle ranch, boss.
Ask me what you want you to say.
Cattle
Mr. Sergio, I saw you on James T. there, Mr. You're famous. Hear me?
you hear that, Sergio?
In the front row.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I had it on me. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were hanging out. It was pretty cool. James is longtime friend.
All right, we ready? Okay. Call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Mr. Latham, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, sir. Everyone? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ariano? Mr. Ariano?
Sergio, you there? Roll call, Sergio. You there?
Mr. Ariano?
Hi.
Aye.
I'm here. Sorry.
Mrs. Price?
Working for me.
Present. Mr. Osterly?
Here.
Mr. Olery?
Here.
And Mr. McGivern?
Present. Thank you. Approval of the agenda, please.
I move that we approve the agenda for today.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ariano?
Aye.
Mrs. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Osterly?
Yes.
Mr. Olery?
Yes.
And Mr. McGivern?
Yes, motion passes. Thanks. 5A, minutes for September 14th, 2020. Entertain a motion, please.
I'll move to approve the minutes of September 14th.
Second?
Motion and second. Discussion?
Mr. Ariano?
Yes.
Mrs. Price? Aye. Mr. Osterly?
Yes.
Mr. Olery?
Yes.
And Mr. McGivern?
Yes. Thank you. Minutes for September 21st, 2020. Special government board meeting.
I'll move that we approve those minutes as well.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion?
Mr. Ariano?
Yes.
Mrs. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Osterly?
Aye.
Mr. Olery?
Yes.
And Mr. McGivern?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Minutes for September 23rd, 2020.
I'll move to approve the minutes of September 23rd.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
In the reference to the ESI contract that we passed at that meeting, I just want to make sure that it references the ESI amended contract version number 1 that we did in fact pass. There's no reference to the exact contract that we approved at that meeting.
Makes sense.
Make sure that
I will update that.
that's reflected. Good. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay,
Mr. Ariano?
Aye.
Mrs. Price? Mr. Osterly?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes.
And Mr. McKibben?
yes, thank you. Any call to the public? Anyone on the line? Okay. Rico, you're up.
I do apologize in advance because I started to lose my voice today, so I am trying to not speak too much, but I'll be as clear as possible. So again, today was my first official day as an ESI employee, and I want to thank all who contributed and attended my rehirement celebration. It was a huge surprise. So thank you, and again, it is a great privilege and honor to continue to serve as superintendent of our amazing school, and I don't take a single day for granted. So I really want to thank the board and my team, and Monica, Deanna, Ms. Kais for their idea to have this celebration, which is really odd because a lot of times people retire and get rehired and nobody knows or says anything, and then by the end, when you're done with ESI, they're ready to kick you out the door. So this was very special, so thank you. And again, I mean, it's just an honor and a privilege to continue to serve as superintendent at Continental. We have a lot of calls for celebration, so all pre-K 8 students back on campus today. So we have a total enrollment of 637 pre-K 8. We have 522 students back on campus, which is 81% of our kids. 115 remain digital. Also looking at our cohorts of students, of our ELL students, we have a total of 18, 16 returning and 2 new. Last year we had 24, so we had a few withdrawals. 10 of the ELL students are in person and 8 are remaining digital. Our SPED students, we have a total of 54, 44 students are in person and 10 are remaining digital. Just a little isolation room update for you from Nurse Maureen. Last Friday, we had 18 kids total in isolation, and we cleared 4 that were negative for COVID and 3 that were had an alternate diagnosis of either allergies, flu, sinus. Isolation room utilized 7 times on last Friday, 38 total students for isolation since the opening of school.
How did
Today,
you, I'm sorry, how did you put them on COVID?
so they either go get a test and they come back and let us know that it was negative.
Okay.
Okay?
Or their doctor, they come back with the doctor's alternate diagnosis.
Which are those 3?
So like if strep throat, if you had strep and you come back with a positive strep test.
Today, we have 2 staff in isolation quarantine, 2 students were in isolation for today. All others are expired and cleared, so we've had a total of 43 staff/students in isolation and quarantine since school has started. I know you've all seen the metrics, I won't spend time too much, but the updated slides of the Pima County Health Department metrics are there. The only one that changed, as we knew it would, were the cases over 2 consecutive weeks went from progress to criteria not met. And in all of our meetings, we talked about how it would not, this data would not affect hybrid models and kids that went to school. You can skip that one too, but those are just the updates. Thank you. USDA extends free meals for kids, so this came through today as well. Trump administration extends free meals for kids for entire school year through June 30th, 2021. So we're really happy about that, and we'll be working with food service in terms of the free and reduced applications, as that still, we still need to collect that for our Title I purposes. But our kids are completely for free. Our IXL usage, so this is really good news as well. So this is compared to August of last year through October 22nd. So we have mastered, you'll see that we've mastered 6,543 skills. That's 362 more skills that were mastered last year at this time. In the proficiency, skills proficient, we have 851 more skills proficient. We decreased the skills practiced by 1,313 skills, which we want that to happen because we want kids to spend time in the proficiency range and in the mastered range versus just practicing skills that they already know. 163 more hours were spent at home, and that's calculated by after 4 p.m., after school hours, and 1,973 more hours were done in school, which is 1,222 more hours than we had last year at this time. Here's a chart that shows our progress and growth on where we are with math and ELA scores and skills mastered. So you can see we've spent more time in math than we have in ELA, which is typical because it's easier to assign math and have the kids practice those algorithms alone where the reading is assessed a little differently.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Mhm.
So, I have an account via my kid. So I would suggest if it doesn't cost anything or if it's minimal, is to give the rest of the board members, and maybe you guys can go in and see like what you don't know.
Oh, we can.
Because it's eye-opening.
Yes.
It's like, and the way it works, you know, to get to master, so let's say there's 20 questions, and you're really rocking it, and you missed a couple here and there, and then you missed 3 in a row, it drops you back down, and now you, to get to mastery level, to get back up, it's pretty crazy.
Right, and that's the
Challenging.
purpose of the real-time diagnostics.
Yeah.
And as a reminder, this part is information only, and if there's items that you want me to put on the board agenda for future and more detail, I can, so I can add IXL to our next board meeting and give you some accounts so you can try them. Thank you. We had some questions about social studies, so I wanted to include this information for you. You do have hard copies of ADE's standards for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I just did those for the sake of not making copies of pre-K 12 standards for you. But if you look, there's a link on the report as well that you will have where you can go directly to that link, and you can see where it shows the grade level, the standard, and what the actual standard is. Do you want to click on that? Okay. So I included hard copies for you of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade from ADE. So when you go onto the Arizona Department of Education, you can see the standards, and you can click on standards by grade band, grade levels at a glance. Here's standards by grade band, so they talk about which ones overlap. If you go down, yeah. There's supporting material, there's the implementation guide, so all this information is available on ADE website. So our teachers do refer to ADE and the standards for social studies to plan. Along with that, so you can put it go up. So along with the ADE standards, we use the Beyond Textbooks curriculum. Calendaring, so again, Beyond Textbooks really lets you calendar the standards for the year. So this is just a screenshot also of when you go into Beyond Textbooks, you can click on the grade level and the content that you would like. There's math, reading, writing, science, and social studies. So again, this is a screenshot of what 6th grade looks like. On the next slide, you can also click on the year. So this has, if you see the 6th up in the front, that's a 6th grade standard. And then there's a 7th grade standard and the 8th grade standards as the year progresses. I also have the link here, and I did ask Vail to develop a board member link so that you could get in and kind of explore. So as soon as I receive that from them, I'll forward it to you. But you can click on the link. And so this is where, I thought it would normally take you to it. But anyway, this is where I'll get, my username is my email address, and then you develop a password. But it looks very similar to ADE, where you can click on the grade level on the standard for writing, math, reading,
Wow.
and the calendars and for the year. Okay, National ALAS Virtual Summit. So I'm currently serving as president-elect of the Arizona Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents, which is called ASIALAS. Mrs. Cuevas received a $10,000 scholarship towards her doctoral program through ASIALAS in 2018. And she'll complete her program in a year. And she's currently in year 4 through Grand Canyon University, but I've been part of ASIALAS for probably 13 years. And so it really is a good organization that gives a lot of student scholarships and administrative scholarships for people to continue their education. So it's nice that Mrs. Cuevas got to receive that scholarship. So she and I attended the ALAS 17th Annual National Virtual National Summit this past weekend. It was very rejuvenating and inspiring. So really, my 2-day retirement, I only had 1 day, which was yesterday, because Saturday I was on the conference and on Friday, so no problem. But again, they had some really good superintendent panels, great networking opportunity where some of the national superintendents are meeting on Sundays at 4 o'clock to kind of do a Zoom call with each other to discuss just different support. We talked about the implications of remote learning and transition to face-to-face instruction, hybrid models, planning and preparation, dealing with COVID chaos and concerns, which is interesting because nationally, the superintendent shared their frustration of how they were really depending on state departments and governors to provide more direction on what schools were to do. And so the frustration and the conversations that we had were happening all over the nation because it really did, leave some of these very difficult conversations up to superintendents and to governing boards without, in some cases, the proper preparation. So it was a really good conference. For governing board elections ballot, so this caused some confusion. I had a few calls during the week and this morning on the confusion of the ballot. So I did speak to Matt Stamp today. Greg and I gave him a call because we were concerned as to why there was the write-in candidate line under Mrs. Kaiser's name. And so being that she is running uncontested and no one filed as a write-in under the 2-year term, the elections office clarified that the elections department is required by law to write in the line under every candidate. However, if any write-ins write in under Mrs. Kais, they will not be counted. Okay, so they want to make sure and that we make that clear to our community to not write in candidates on both areas, that they can just write them in under the first section under Mr. McGibbon and Mr. Oley. Okay. So again, Continental Override update. So Support Continental Override Committee is on Facebook, and there is a nice video there that kind of explains the override that I thought was well done. I presented over break at GBSAR, which is the Realtors Association, on October 6th, which was a great way to inform community members on the great things happening in our school and solicit continued support. We also have our very own Ariana Van Horvick, who did some radio time for us, so Monica will play that for us. Oh.
And they posted my editorial on Sunday in the paper on the 44th.
Oh, okay, good.
So I wrote a letter and that was posted, and McMurray, his was in on Wednesday,
Okay, nice.
so,
Good,
and
and I know we had Dr. Jetner had also submitted a letter that had
Okay.
come out before.
I haven't seen that yet, or could have already done.
Linda, can you check your email for the ask for information?
We can come back to that at
Okay.
the end. So, we do have a Support Continental PTC Chipotle event tomorrow, October 13th, so please plan to have dinner at Chipotle, and we will make sure that you have the flyers before you leave today. Okay, we'll make sure you get them so you can order online and support our Continental PTC. We are getting new parent advisory, student advisory members, so we've calendared meetings for the last week of October with those groups. We also will have our new student to Continental meeting, which I find very helpful, to kind of check in with all of our new students to say, how's it going, are you making friends, what do you need? Just an additional way for us to get to know our new kids on campus. Fall pictures will be Wednesday, October 21st, so board members, please plan to come for picture day, because these are the pictures that go in our school yearbook. The installation of the Eagle Scout project, Continental School Celebration Plaza, and I showed you some of the bricks, so stay tuned, because more bricks will be sold to support Washington DC trip this year. Our outdoor musical playground installation for preschool and outside middle school is ready to go. You received the instruments. We're going to be looking at the E3 Church to help us install preschool. And we're going to get Blue Stake out here to let us know if we can put it up outside of middle school where we planned. So our goal is for install prior to Thanksgiving, so we can kind of do a thank you celebration for Rotary and our donors, tax credit donors, when they got possible. So as a reminder, this is not the opportunity for questions or discussion. If there are any questions on any information presented or specific questions on what was presented, please let me know and we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Thank you, and keep calm and sail on. And I just wanted to say I did get a weekend getaway in San Diego, so there's my granddaughter at the beach on base. And she will be a Continental Colt in preschool starting on Thursday.
Oh, right.
So she's super excited. And there's another picture of us because we stopped on the way back from San Diego at one of the lookouts that they had. And they had a boulder park where all these animals and scary faces are built into the boulders, and you kind of climb in and go in and out. So that was my weekend adventure. Thank you.
Okay, let's put it, this is out, feeling awesome. Yeah, you're up. Thank you. As President McGibbon had mentioned, Mrs. Cuevas is out ill this evening, so I have been asked to present her report to you. And so, welcome back, Colts. Ready, set, sail. As Ms. Rico had already mentioned, we are very fortunate to have our preschool through 8th graders back on campus. Those who have chosen that to be back on campus are here. Kind of just talks, this is, the first couple slides here are going to repeat what Ms. Rico had already talked about as well. So out of our 630 students, 590 not including pre-K, we have 101 remaining digital. Ms. Rico's numbers, I believe, are a little bit more accurate, so this was done.
Up to date.
This was done right before we went on break, and then Ms. Rico's numbers are representing today, as Ms. Cuevas was not here, so that's the discrepancy there. Morning student drop-off, it's been going very well despite the extra time to do temperature checks and make sure that we ask that each individual student if they're feeling well that way and having any signs or symptoms of COVID. As you can see, there were lots of staff lined up, and that's been going really well. My wife and I, we were kind of joking this afternoon about this marks our first day of school this school year, and we've actually seen a trend that just when my team gets all excited because we're able to get all the kids on campus before 8 o'clock, we had another first day of school and we start over. So today it was about 8:12 by the time all of our kids were on campus, and then we see after a couple of days the newcomers get into the swing of things, and we're able to get that back where everyone's on campus before 8. as well as dismissal at the end of the day. So the first day of school today, the kiddos weren't gone until about 3:20. But we're seeing that get back down to where we actually get it down to like 3:10, which is a pretty good time. So our
Promise
team,
we won't have the 7th until January.
yeah, January 4th will mark the 7th first day of school, so we're looking forward to getting that one behind us, so we're done with first days of school. In our efforts to improve speed and time and efficiency for our parents and our students having to wait as well as our teachers, we did end up adding a placard, if you will, that goes in the front so that we can identify, if you're supposed to be picking up a kiddo here at Continental School, but also to help our teachers know exactly who it is. So this is our Sammy the Colt model and Carly the Colt demo that has helped us improve our speed and our time on parent pickup. Safety procedures and protocols. Students have been so good at following safety protocols and procedures put in place in all the areas of the school. So you can kind of see what the typical classroom's looking like, going very well all throughout campus, the different playground procedures that are happening, and then over here you can see the cafeteria. We actually have the floors marked where the kids are standing in line there as well. The cafeteria's been kind of dissected and put in groups, so they're eating in cohorts, so the kids aren't intermixing. And then we've also reassigned our playgrounds so that the kids are playing in playgrounds and they're not intermixing classes with one another, so that if there happens to be an outbreak, that it is contained within that small group of students in one class. The staff is hard at work, so with COVID, there's been an increase in duties and assignments. So you can see Mr. Ben right here, one of our awesome playground monitors. He's actually out in between cohorts. We have to spray down the fixed equipment between each use, and so that's him out doing that. And just some of the different other things that are going on to make all of our kids safe. Here, they're actually cutting out some of the things for the cafeteria that mark where the kids are to sit in their assigned area. Okay. This is the eIEP Pro. Many of our staff members, and Mrs. Cuevas wrote me a text line, so I'm going to read it to you on this one. This is a program that our special ed teachers use to track IEPs for those who qualify for special ed. And she wanted me to share that the SPED teachers, principal, superintendent, IT director, and the SACE clerk attended the training. So we are all on the same page with the various ways to utilize the portal. So oftentimes new staff comes in and they're just given a password to the program, but we don't all understand exactly how to fully utilize the program. And so everybody was in that training so we could all be on the same page and use the program to its fullest potential. Ms. Rico, is there anything else you'd like to add on that?
Yeah, just that this year, due to COVID, it was nice because we were able to pay a fee and have more than one staff member attend the training and be a part of it. And it was tailored for Continental employees, which is nice because other times the psychologist will go, or just one special ed teacher will go to the full day training in Phoenix. So it was nice to be able to have that offer for us so that we could all, like Mrs. Cuevas said, be on the same page.
Our WEA MAP benchmark testing, we've talked about this in the past. We're moving away to a new testing throughout the school year for accountability within the district. And so the MAP is what we've chosen to go with. MAP testing benchmark, week 1 of October 19th. We would like to try to test one grade level. Our 5th grade actually volunteered today, and so they're going to start this week. So our 5th grade teacher said, let's do it, let's get after it. And so they're going to be demoing that for us. So we're really excited to kind of use them as a guinea pig, if you will, so that we could figure out, being that it's a new system, figure it out before we roll it out to everybody else. And then, so our MAP testing benchmark 2 is week of December 7th. MAP testing benchmark 3 is the week of February 15th. MAP testing benchmark 4 is the week of May 3rd. And we will be coming up with a schedule for digital students to come on campus to take the test, and we will keep you appraised of this. And so what that will look like is usually we open the community and they would come in and be able to take it here where we can oversee that so that we can count their data in with us as well as we move forward. Okay. Level data digs. Our grade level data digs meetings will be scheduled after each benchmark testing. What this consists of is the admin team, Ms. Cuevas, myself, Ms. Rico, if she's available, where we sit down, as well as a lot of our other, like our academic behavior support specialist, Mrs. Romanelli, our reading specialist, where we can sit down with the teachers, look at each of their individual students' data as well as their class data. This is where we're able to use that data to really improve the quality of teaching. So we can look at individual students, but then as a class as a whole. Where could we do better? Where is the whole class need some improvement? And by using that information in that manner, that's what really pushes learning in the classroom. So we're really excited to utilize this new system, and it's very easy to pull all that up where we have that and to present that to teachers. And also, one of the big things that we've really pushed in the past couple of years is our students owning their own data too. And so with this, it's going back to the students, this is your data, what do we need to work on? Mr. Osterley, Mr. McGibbon, you may remember, in the middle school, we went to an elementary to student-led parent-teacher conferences, where the student actually sits down, shows the data to their parents, explains the data, and then explains their plan for improving their numbers, which is really getting that ownership from the students, what we're trying to do, so everybody is actively working on it. And not just the teacher trying to push improvement, we get the students buying as well.
Yeah, Steve, could class-level data be shared with the board after any of these, so we could see progress as opposed to just seeing the year-end results?
Yes, Ms. Cuevas, I believe, usually does do that. It's just we take, sometimes it's made a little bit more generic to protect the child's identity, but the data itself is presented. So
And I
absolutely.
want to reiterate that it's not just at this time that we discuss data, because what we really do at this time, is we're using formative assessment daily for instruction and unit assessments and Friday assessments to see where kids are. But this time really is focused on, did our plan to have the students progress through their benchmarks, was it successful? If not, we need to dig deeper into the student and identify what the problem is and add a different layer of intervention if needed. So we're constantly looking at data, but it's nice to have these calendars so we know, and we will share quarterly data moving forward.
And that's imperative while our specialists are involved in those data digs as well, because a lot of times those further interventions are getting them working one-on-one with some of those students. I know in the past, we've had volunteers throughout the community who come in. That's where we get that sort of information through these data digs and say, this kiddo here sliding backwards, let's get them in this program and see if we can bump them back up in performance. So, okay. The Sandra Day O'Connor Celebration Day, we did participate in that. Here's some classwork that you can see through some of the different classes. This one's a little bit out of focus, but it's really, really nicely done that one of our students had done, as well as some writing on it as well. And so that's just a couple examples of the work that some of our students did do throughout campus on that day as we did celebrate that. Goodbye to Mr. Layton's famous beard. So this was a sad day for me because it literally grew on me. But my wife was super excited to see the beard go. And so for those of you that aren't aware, I hadn't shaved since the Friday before spring break up until we had 8th graders 2 weeks ago on campus. When the 8th graders came back, that's when the beard went away because I made a silly commitment to one of our 8th graders that I wouldn't shave till we came back to school, thinking it would be 2 or 3 weeks, not 6 months. So there you go. So goodbye beard, and it's good to be back.
Oh, you liked it.
So. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Back to slide 3.
I agree.
Let me call Dean and ask her.
Thanks very much. Moving on to 9, our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to
question on the financial report. Greg, can we get dates on here just to show that it's the fiscal year from July to the end of September, whatever the date is? If you could just put that on the annual financial report, I'd appreciate it. I didn't see where it indicated date anywhere in there.
Give me a, because it's a system generated report, all I do is click a button and it runs. So, that's the actual A
So
for
it does say district financial report as of September 30th, 2020.
Right, in the consent agenda.
Uh-huh. Is that what
Sorry,
you're
I hit
saying,
the wrong thing.
Mr. O'Leary? Is
Yeah,
that where you want
that
it?
one right there.
Because it does say district financial report as of September 30th, 2020 on the agenda.
Okay, on the document
Right.
title.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay, if you look at the bottom of the page, it tells you the date and the time that was actually ran.
All right.
Great. Further questions?
Mr. Ariano?
Yeah,
Mrs. Tynes?
Aye.
Mr. Osterling?
Yes?
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes.
And Mr. McKibben?
Yes, motion passes, thank you. Unfinished business? We have the second reading of our board policy, JE, bidding purchasing procedures. Discussion and information. Any further comments on this?
yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
You know, I think, looking at our history in the past, I don't think we really have had to make any major purchases like this, on behalf of the superintendent, by herself. And so as I look at this, I'm trying to figure out the purpose, and I really don't see a need. Bar being, I mean, it being from purchasing maybe a bus, and if it comes on sale or something, I don't know. But generally, we've been pretty quick, and I think they're really, I don't feel too strongly about this, about upping the budget, and I think we would benefit from our quick action. As a board, if there wasn't a case that needed to approve this amount of money, where we could receive an email and we can just hop on a Zoom call and authorize it as a board, but at this time, I really don't see a purpose behind this, unless, I mean, I'm willing to hear the reason behind it, but at this point in time, I don't think this is something that needs to be placed on the agenda personally.
Okay, well, this is just a discussion, there's no action on it this evening, so.
Correct.
We can,
I know that,
yeah,
and
got it,
I'm giving you, giving you my insight, and
okay.
I really don't feel a need that we should proceed forward with this item on the agenda as an actionable item.
Okay. Further discussion?
I think part of it was discussed last time, and rarely would it be used. And should a special need for it, then we have to give our 24-hour notice to have a board meeting. So it's not just as easy as calling up at 10 o'clock in the morning saying, hey guys, we need to buy a $25,000 van or bus or whatever it might be. You know, that has to wait till the next day, and not relying on our people's judgment on that could cost us more money. I think that's, if I understand it right, that's what you're thinking is.
That's exactly the point for this whole discussion. There are times where I will get notifications that Bluebird has buses that are on sale, and it's a 24-hour thing. And if it's an opportunity for us to buy a brand new bus or a newer bus, you know, I'd like the opportunity for us to be able to jump on that. So that is the whole reasoning behind asking for this change in the budget.
about it, normally our transportation department is pretty good about keeping us updated on any future purchases needed. So I still don't see, I mean, we've been really good in communication. And so whether it's a bus or it's a van, so on and so forth, I don't think there's a lapse in communication where this needs to happen. I mean, it just opens us up for a lot of further strife and discord, I think, in the future, if there is a purchase in a large amount made that doesn't sit well with the board.
Mr. Miller, you have something?
I was just going to, I mean, obviously, Greg, you don't have any history in Continental, and neither do I.
Correct.
But Superintendent Rico, can you recall situations where we missed an opportunity to make a nice purchase because of an inability to get something for board approval?
No, not in the time that I've been here, that hasn't happened. But we've also never had our business director who was looking out for our district vehicle that we haven't purchased since I don't know when. How old is the district van?
Mr. Rickman was in it.
I have no comment on that. So,
Super old.
He was born in it.
No, but we have not missed
Okay,
any major opportunities as far as I know.
thank you.
Yes, sir, yes, you have
If I can, so just having been working with FEMA and IRMA a lot and going through those courses, the only reason, I mean, Sergio had mentioned with transportation, we usually have a pretty good read on that sort of stuff. We don't know when the cells are coming, but working on the emergency side, usually there are clauses in districts that allow, like, say, if there's issue with power and the only thing is our power grid's out, being able to buy a generator or something of those large expenses, or if there's, say, an issue with the building, that we're able to do that. That would be one of the purposes through the FEMA and IRMA side, where one person having the ability to do that, but that's typically on an emergency basis. And I may be totally off base with that, Mr. Schubert, but
So I'm gonna say something that goes against exactly what I'm trying to have approved tonight, or have you have a discussion on. So, but it goes totally against what I'm asking. What Mr. Lathan is describing would be considered an emergency procurement, where we would be able to go out and make the purchase without board consent, and then bring it back to the board at the next regularly scheduled meeting for a approval in arrears. But any emergency procurement would be done like that. So if I had to buy a freezer for the food services department because the freezer was out, no parts were available, I can't get anybody to fix it, and I can get one here in 2 days. So that would be an emergency type procurement. So again, like I said, it goes against exactly everything that I'm asking you to discuss.
Would situations like that also potentially be reimbursable from the school facilities fund?
Depends, it depends.
Okay.
There's certain things, you mentioned, generators and things like that. Something like that, no, but if say our fire alarm system had gone down, overnight, we got a lightning strike and it fried the circuitry, I could go out and do an emergency procurement and then get SFB to approve that in arrears.
Yes, ma'am.
So I went and looked at Sunnyside and TUSD. And Sunnyside has about 17,000 students and a budget of about 126 million. And TUSD has 47,000 students and $566 million budget. And they have this exact policy right here. So I guess I'm thinking, here we are, a school with about 575 students, a budget of 7.8 million, and yet we are looking at creating a policy that authorizes one individual to purchase up to $50,000 outside the approval of board, and yet other school districts, and I started to look at Amphi as well, but then I decided that they all have the same policy. So I guess as a small elementary school district, I guess I need you to help me understand why this would be beneficial for our 575 students, $7.8 million budget.
If you look at some of the more rural school districts that are out there across the state, you will find I wouldn't even say not even half of them have changed the policy to make this, just because of being smaller districts, rural locations. Now granted, we don't have some of the issues that they have. We're trying to get board meetings because we can do board meetings.
Yeah, we've had 31 since January. We've had 31 meetings since January.
Again, this was just brought up as a discussion item. Whichever way the board chooses to go with this, I'm fine with. I just wanted to bring it up as a discussion item to see where the board's thoughts and what they were thinking about a possible change of this. Whichever way the board decides, I'm going to be fine with.
Further discussion? Okay. Thank you. Okay. New business. Approval of our annual financial report, fiscal year 2020. All right, sir.
Can I bring that up? All right, so here we go, the annual financial report. This is a report that's due to ADE by October 15th of every year. Doesn't matter what date October 15th falls on, it's a solid October 15th. The first page of the AFR is just like with the budget. It is the signature pages as well as the total expenditures pages. You can see those total expenditures in the bottom right of your document. If you go on to page 1, page 1 gives us the revenues that we received from local, county, state, and federal. It also gives us a lump sum of our expenditures. So if you will notice, under our maintenance and operation fund, we started off the year with a beginning fund balance, this is cash on hand, of negative $166,240. We ended the year at negative $318,617. So that means that we added $152,377 of negative cash into our balance. So why would we have negative cash? One of the reasons behind that is you will find in communities that have a lot of undeveloped property, a lot of agriculture, sometimes those taxes don't get paid every year. I'm sure Mr. McGibbon is completely 100% up on his taxes every year, but there are some places, in some communities, you wouldn't see a payment but maybe once every 5 years or so. So that's why the revenues received don't match what we were actually budgeted for over the course of the year. Is there any questions on the revenue portion of the AFR before I move on to the expenditures page? Mr.
I
Olin?
mean, that was kind of the subject of one of my questions that I posed in my email.
Yes, sir.
Because if we essentially, from revenues to expenses, we were $318,000 in expenses over revenue
Yes,
for the fiscal year.
yes.
But yet, we were $400,000 under budget for
Yes.
the year. So that means we had a $700,000 miss on projected revenues.
Okay, so.
That's huge.
So with the revenues, we don't exactly project out revenue. We project out what the state is going to allow us to spend, okay? And I'm just going to use round numbers for this scenario. So if they tell us that we can budget $7 million for the year, but yet the state and the local and the county governments only collect $6.5 million, we're still able to spend up to that $7 million because that other $500,000 will eventually get to us in fact taxes collected. There used to be a fund called Fund 620, which was a soft capital account. Mr. Oler, I don't know if you were around on the board or not when we had that. That fund was 5-6 years ago, okay? in my last district, I was still getting deposits into that fund from taxes being paid late. So it eventually catches us back up. And running a cash balance in the negatives within your M&O account and your capital account are perfectly fine with the state. There's no audit issues with it or anything else. It's just one of those things that happen. You know, the local entities don't collect their tax payments as they were expecting. Therefore, the revenue just doesn't show there as far as the, as up to your budgeted amount.
So the state's kind of guaranteeing that
Yes,
deficit?
yes,
Because
yes,
they're authorizing you to spend the 7 million.
correct. Okay, and running a negative, and this is not a cash-based account. If you remember to when we were talking about the budget, all those 500 accounts, you know, civic center, student activities and things like the such, those are all cash-based accounts. Those cannot run negative.
Does that address your question, Mr. Miller? On that revenue portion?
Okay.
Any further questions on the revenue portion?
Mr. Audiano, anything on the revenue portion?
Okay, on page two is our expenditures broken down by object code and function within M&O. Just some highlights to the budget. You will see that we budgeted in regular ed instruction, which is the 101,000. We budgeted 4.127 million. We spent 3.985 million. So that was a 15.7% increase over the previous year, where we had spent 3.4 million. Another big line is within our food service line, which is the 3,000. So that would be line number 9 on your document, where we had a 227.5% increase over the previous year. Some other highlights is our instructional staff, our 2,200 codes. We spent 47% less than we did the previous year. And then we spent another 28.8% less in number 5, which is our school administration. Scrolling down further to special ed, under our instructional staff, we spent 98% less than we did the previous year. The previous year, we spent $49,683, and last year we had spent $977, so that's that 98% decrease. Pupil transportation, we spent an additional 6.7% over the previous year. In our K-3 reading program, we spent an additional 12.6%. And our total expenditures over the previous year were up 12.2% overall. Are there any questions on the expenditures? No?
Do you have any questions on the expenditure portion?
No.
Okay, so page 3 of 9 is our classroom site fund. This is our Prop 301 money that goes out to our teachers. As you can see, you know, I won't go through it line by line because there's nothing spectacular on it, but you can see that our classroom site fund, we increased 26.7% over the previous year. The previous year, which would have been the 18-19 school year, we spent $234,000. Last year, we spent $296,000. Page 4 is our capital, and this one, this page, it breaks it down a little bit more, more in depth. It breaks it down exactly, and I'm looking now at the middle box. It breaks it down over what we budgeted and actually spent on our furniture and equipment, our buildings, our vehicles, our technology-related hardware. So you can see in those categories themselves, we budgeted $290,000 and we spent $232,000. And for all those totals that we spent there, none of it was spent in renovation or new construction. The assets of the district are as follows. Under land and improvements, we have assets of $286,494. Under our buildings and equipment, our buildings and improvements, we have $22,052,178. Our furniture, equipment, vehicles, and technology, we have a capital assets of $1.4 million for total assets of $23.7 million. Any questions on capital?
Just,
Sure.
I've always been intrigued, Greg, with the introduction of the school facilities fund that you introduced us to.
You're gonna make me regret it.
Where would purchases and reimbursements from that fund show up in our financial reports?
Later on in the packet.
Okay.
Further questions on this portion? Sergio, anyone?
So page 5 of 9 are our federal and state grants that we received over the course of the year. Again, there's really not a whole lot of difference from being spent. We have a total balance moving over in our federal and state balance of $23,903 that'll carry over into the upcoming school year. The next page, to answer your question, Mr. Ulrich, go to line 29. 29 on your page 6 of 9. That is where you will find any projects dealing with the SFB and upcoming AFRs. I like to budget about $10 million in my building renewal grant because I want to take as much money of theirs as possible. I've only come close to it once. And by close, I mean $3 million. But for future reference, that's where you will find any SFB funds from in our next one. And I was talking earlier about those 500 funds. They're listed on this page as well. They are lines 5 through 23. And those are our cash balance funds, or cash-based funds. As you can see, they are all in the positive, which is where they all should be. Any questions on our other funds that we use?
Sergio, anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
All right. Page 7. This is where we discuss our bonds and any short-term debt that we have. It also gives the assessed valuations, county-approved liabilities, current expenditures by category. One of the things that's important to see is that on a $7 million budget, we only spent, and I'm not 100% sure what the budget was from last year, so I'm just rounding to 7. But on administrative functioning, we only spent $900,000. I mean, so that's less than a seventh of that budget. And again, using that $7 million as our budget number from the previous year. We did spend over $5 million in the classroom. So a good portion of our funding is making its way into the classroom. Teacher salaries also on this page. You'll notice that the percentage of teacher pay actually went down, and that is just due to teacher turnover. When you lose a $55,000 teacher and you gain a $35,000 a year teacher, that's going to be your differences on that page. So the average teacher's salary employed in FY18 was $40,361. And since we have started doing the teacher increases in 2018, teacher salaries have increased on average 2.6% overall. Any questions on bonds, short-term debt?
Anyone here? Sergio, anything?
Page page 8 of 9 is our gifted and our SPED programs. The top section is just finding where students that we have are gifted and at what grade levels. It doesn't break it down by sex or nationality. It's just a blank number. You know, it's just a blanket number, 1 or 3 or whatever it is in that particular grade level. And you'll notice that we even keep track of our students that we have out at the local high schools. So those students are also within our gifted numbers as well. Over on the left is our SPED budget. We budgeted $925,150 and we spent $832,623 on our special needs students. The bottom right gives us what we spend on tuition. We have to pay tuition for high school students every year. So last year we spent $2,292,458 just in tuition.
Greg, is any of that ever negotiable?
No.
I didn't think so, just thought I'd throw it out.
So coming from a district that actually charged tuition,
Right?
basically what it is, it's the ADM for a high school student. Okay, so just using, again, blanket numbers, if the ADM for a high school student for a 1 ADM is $5,000 a year, okay? They will bill me that $5,000, and that $5,000, 70% of it will go into their M&O fund, 20% will go into their capital fund, and the remaining 10%, if they have debt service, which means they have bonds outstanding, will go into that fund. If they don't have bonds outstanding, that remaining 10% will go into their capital budget.
Then what about the transportation, because we're still on the,
We still collect the mileage for taking their kids there.
so is that kind of over and above what the normal tuition would be per student?
No, no.
Okay, so it's kind of all factored in?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions on gifted, SPED, and tuition?
How come we don't have any money for gifted?
Why don't we have money for gifted? We don't have truly a gifted program.
Well, we have
We
some
have-
students in 6th, 7th, and 8th that are gifted.
We have,
So we had, we don't get additional funding from the state. Last year was the first time that they had a $10,000 Get Your Gifted program going, which is where we ordered our gifted and our gifted assessment. And we paid to have some teachers trained to be able to give the assessment. So this year, we're in the stage of identifying our students. And I don't
we
know
didn't
that
qualify
there's
for the gifted,
additional.
we didn't qualify for the gifted grant this year.
Right, and there's not additional funding, even when you have kids identified, they expect you to use your existing budget for classroom supplies for the students. So like, let's say that as a district, we have enough identified gifted students to hire a teacher. So then we have to use our money for teacher salaries to pay for a gifted teacher. So it would be the same if there was a need for an art teacher or for whatever else. So we have to work that into our budget.
So those 4 kids that we have, I think there was 1 in 6th, 2 in 7th, and 1 in 8th or something.
4 and 8, yes.
Yeah, so those kids, they just,
No, so we do have a plan, like we have Ms. Romanelli working with the students. We have 2 teachers who have been going to get their courses to get a gifted endorsement through the Pima County SNP's office, so they've completed that. So now they're certified to be able to service the students. So now that we have kids back on campus, we're gonna be looking at how we're gonna service them.
Now-
Because we know they're there, and we know we can identify more now, but we haven't had an assessment, an updated assessment in the last 3 years.
And the year that we're reporting on, we didn't break down our SPED funding by area. As you will see in the SPED programming, the very first category in that is gifted education. So when we're talking SPED funding, it's not only our special needs students, but it's also our gifted students as well that are receiving some sort of a service. But as far as the previous year, I couldn't tell you what was spent on gifted versus ELL compensatory instruction. I can tell you that line 6, 7, and 8, we did actually spend 0 on. because those are high school programs.
But do any
but-
of our students that we pay tuition for, are any of them in CTE?
That does not go to our AFR, that would go to Sarita's AFR. You know, we just track the number of gifted students. We don't actually spend on our gifted students. We give them the tuition and then Sarita spends it as they spend. Any other questions on page 8?
Sergio, anything?
All right, page 9 of the AFR. This is, this is just another breakdown of the spending of all funds, with the exception of Fund 575. And I'd actually have to look to tell you what 575 is, that's how often it gets used. 575 is unemployment insurance. So this is a breakdown of all the spending in all of our funds, with the exception of unemployment. And it breaks it down at the bottom with how much was spent out of that total for federal funds, how much was spent out of state and local funds. Over on the left, textbooks, how much was spent on textbooks, how much was spent on utilities and energy. Let's see, what else did we have? Over on technology, which is on the bottom right, what we spent in the technology-related categories, you know, technical services, repairs, computers, rentals, telecommunications, technology supplies, hardware and software, and then the bigger technology, hardware and software as well. Page 9, or the following page is just the summary of everything that we have just gone over. It gives you what our beginning balance was, what we received as far as revenue, any other financing sources and transfers. So if we transfer money from M&O into capital, things like that, where that would come from. The expenditures, the budgeted expenditures, the actual expenditures, and then the cash balance at the end of the year. So, Mr. Aldridge, you did have a question on debt service.
Yeah, can you explain that line number, whatever the line is?
All right, so what debt service is Fund 700 and 701. 700 and 701 is where we make the payments on our bonds. So that'll be whatever interest is due, whatever fees are due to the brokerage and everything else. We don't write POs for this or anything else. The county automatically pays that and sends us a journal. Now, normally, that should be a positive number.
Yeah, that's my question.
There should
All
be.
the other expenditures are up here are positive numbers, and that's a negative $500,000.
Yes, that should be a positive number, okay? The only way, and with just the amount of time I was able to spend on looking at it today, I concluded that most likely over the last 4 years, we have been miscoding that payment. Instead of it showing us as making a payment, it's showing us receiving the funds. One of the things so I do a cash reconciliation every month with the county treasurer. And as far as I know in the past, it has been a scenario where they upload what we have, they upload what the county has, and that was their reconciliation. When I do my reconciliations with the county treasurer's office, I go through it, I reconcile all my cash line by line, and I reconcile all my revenues line by line, and then I reconcile all my expenditures line by line.
This was not picked up in the audit?
No,
Yeah, how could we have a clean audit?
no, it wasn't. Okay?
Well, it
Currently-
looks like there's an Excel error in line F53. Yeah, right there. So it's a reference error, so I don't know if it's a circular reference or what it is. But Monica, could you hold down the control key and then hit the toggle key, which is the key to the left of the one? It looks like a Spanish tilde. So, so it's in E53. You've got a reference error in there. And what's in F?
So go back here. Sorry.
Yeah, if you do the control toggle again, it shows you what's behind the cells. And then if you could just use the scroll bar and scroll across. Yeah, so there's an error in the spreadsheet, it looks like. No, and you can do a control toggle and it'll take you back to your original data. But there were several others. There's a value error up in B33, there's another reference error up there. Yeah, so that's, you know, the value in line 33 is resulting in, I mean, it's going right across. You've got another reference error up in,
It's not picking up the other spreadsheets.
yeah, the linking is off, something's not working. So, to Mr. Ullery's point, I'm not sure I believe that number.
Well, what you're saying is that this is a correction of 4 years of miscoding?
Yes,
The
it
debt
is.
service
So
line?
going back to what I was saying about the cash reconciliations, when I go to reconcile that particular fund, we have a difference between what the district says we have and what the county treasurer has of $2,350,509.96. So it's showing me that we have been miscoding it incorrectly because our balance is going the wrong way in that account,
Based on that number, roughly 5 years worth,
roughly,
more or less, right?
4 years.
4.
This is something that I can get fixed. I can fix this. But prior to fixing it, I need to have a conversation with our auditors. Because if I do a $2.3 million journal entry, it's gonna raise questions. So I wanna have the conversation with the auditors, give them my reasoning behind doing this type of a journal entry. We won't see our auditors until December. So I won't be able to correct this specific line until then.
But you've got to file this by October 15th with Pima County.
Yes.
So is there a way to fix the error codes that are there on the spreadsheet?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to open it back up on my computer because that's where the other documents are.
It's
And
referencing
see
other
if the numbers
documents.
will
Yes.
change, see if the numbers will change.
Because when I got the AFR completed, I didn't have any of the errors, the reference errors or the value errors. There was nothing in there like that.
What happens when you go to coding errors in that tab?
Go ahead. So if we had coding errors, they would be highlighted.
Okay. But that's just codes, not the actual amounts.
Yes.
It just blows me away that a $2.3 million amount would not be picked up in an audit.
Well, that again, that is between what the district says that we have as far as cash and what the treasurer has as cash. When the auditors are looking, they're looking to make sure that things are coded correctly. And since we don't actually do the coding for bond payments that come straight from the county sends us the journal, and then we just rekey it. So I'm guessing when we key it, we're keying it backwards.
So positive to negative or vice versa.
Instead of a debit, it's a credit.
But at this point, you're file it as an amended, or you talk to the auditors first.
Well, to correct that issue, that is to talk with the
I mean,
auditors.
there's obviously an issue here.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any way that we could request an extension from the county on the filing of this report?
It's a state.
I mean, I feel funny signing this. Just on that line, I mean, we're not talking about a small amount of miscoding, dollars.
No, but you're also talking years worth of
I
errors.
understand that.
So the reality is it's gonna take far more than the next 3 days to dig into this.
Well, I can't fix, I can fix it. Okay, I can fix the $2.3 million. I just don't feel comfortable fixing it without first talking over it with the auditors, because a $2.3 million journal entry on a district of a budget of $7.5 million, it's,
Are you talking about an adjusting entry?
yes. So what it's called, we have entries that are called fund balances. So when you cannot reconcile to the county treasurer, you do what's called a fund balance journal entry. And that's just from going back into the past and trying to fix things. And if you can't finding 4 years worth of errors is not going to be the easiest thing, going back and looking over the past 4 years.
Is there a way to file it and put a note or something like that with it? So by filing this, however, we are talking to the auditors in December about,
So there's a process called a 915, where I can file an amended version at a later date, but I have to get approval from the Auditor General's office prior to filing the 915. And it has to be on the 915 letter, it has to be specific as to what you are changing. So with this, it would be specifically changing this cell on the AFR and nothing else.
But our signatures on this document are assuring its accuracy, or assuring that it's within
Right, it is,
reasonable accuracy.
other than the value error that popped up and the reference error, the document's accurate. If you scroll over to the accounting data line, this is all taken straight from our accounting software. Everything that we have spent, everything that we have received is pulled into this, and then it's automatically sent out to the cells. There's no manipulation of those numbers from the business office. Oh, you'll go through it.
so what if you created a test copy of this, just, it shouldn't take too long, or, and make the change that we're talking about? What would that look like now?
I'm not sure.
Or what if you change that, let's just say auditors are here, you got permission to change it,
Mhm.
and you went in, you changed it here, what would things look like? Where would things change except on that one line?
What should that number read, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Where it says, what does it say?
Debt services?
the negative.
Reference?
558,000.
Yeah. that one. I mean, I think that's the big thing we're talking about, the reference numbers and stuff, I think that's pretty simple fix.
But the cumulative, is it, what did you say it was, Mr. Schubert, at 2.3 million?
Yes.
2.3 million out of a $7 million budget. It's about 32% of our budget that we can't account for.
Out of darn debt service, yes.
And my problem on this, Greg, is that you're saying that everything in here is accurate.
And the
But wait, but you're also saying that this entry on the debt service line is to correct 4 years of improper coding, so
no,
how
that's
could?
not, okay, so you've confused what I've said. Let me go back. What you have is you have a reference error in 2 spots, and they are both under budgeted expenditures. That means that from last year's budget, the budget and those numbers did not pull over. So with that, those 2 references are actually irrelevant.
But we didn't
Because
have
it is,
that.
hold on. Because those two numbers are just what we said, this is what we're gonna spend. It has nothing to do with the final calculation.
But this is an annual financial report for the 19 to 20
School year.
school year. We did not have a negative $500,000 of debt service costs in that fiscal year.
I understand that.
So that's incorrect.
So, going back to what I said, the information, I haven't changed anything from what was spent last year, okay? What is in the system as being done last year is a negative $558,725, okay? I can go through, I can look to see if I can find the journals where it was done. I found 4 payments that was made last year that does not equal that amount. So it'll take more time than I don't know how much time it would take me to find the $558,725.
So, I just want to make sure I understand this then. For the last 4 years,
Roughly.
this organization has been operating with inaccurate financial data.
As far as the debt service is concerned, I can agree 100% with that.
Okay, and so right now, we have about a 31% debt service to budget, about a 31% unreconcilable balance.
We, within our cash balance, yes.
Okay, and so what you're suggesting is an adjusting entry after submission of this report and collaboration with our auditor.
Correct.
I think we need to go to the Auditor General now.
Over a coding error? Over
I'm not sure it's a coding error. You're telling me you can't find it, so it's not just a coding error.
Then again, I was only able to spend about 3 hours on looking for it today.
Right, and you're the new guy. And so in
And
all fairness,
I'm not using that, that's not,
well, I'm using it because you are the new guy. I mean, this is like getting dropped in a couple of months ago and now finding out you've got a $2.3 million error. And for 4 years, the financial documents of this organization have been incorrect. That's a pretty big deal. That is, our financial documents have been incorrect. That's a really big deal. And now we're being asked to sign this report where, you know what my position is.
I know 100% where
You
your
know where
position
I'm coming from. I can't sign this. I legally can't sign this.
So what I am saying is, we get this signed, get it in by the deadline. Once I can talk with the auditors and we're able to get this fixed, I can file the 915 letter with the attorney, with the Auditor General's office, and we are able to correct what we have, what we can sign tonight.
What happens if this doesn't get in on the 15th of October?
It becomes an audit finding.
Okay, is the school fined or anything?
No.
We maybe make the newspaper.
But it needs to be correct.
But it hasn't been for 4 years, and so I think we, that's a big deal, and thanks for finding it.
I just feel bad for having to defend it.
No, you don't.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking care of it. We're just trying to figure out the best route to take to do it.
Yeah, because I remember when we first met, you went through the budget and it was like, you knew it was a train wreck. And obviously that's proved out to be true. That's why I asked if there's some way to, if you have to submit it and say, we're submitting this, however, we have noted this, waiting for the auditors in December.
Well, is there a way to discuss this with the auditors tomorrow?
I'd say, we got 2 days. Is there anything we can, maybe they'd say, you know what, this is what,
At least we could get something in writing.
an acknowledgement that there are issues here, that we have, that are incorrect numbers, obviously, and a large amount. What's the next step we need to take to make this, to not only correct it, but to be within our guidelines of 15th in our contract? And if we need to come back on the 15th to do it, then I suppose we do that.
But
I think in the afternoon, it'd be during the afternoon, even if it was over the phone.
Sure.
But we need,
Well, we have a board meeting on the 9th of November, right?
Yeah.
And this is due the 15th
Of
of
October.
October.
The 15th of October.
Thursday.
Oh, so we're
This
jumping through
Thursday.
hoops.
well, I personally, I need to see, I need it to be accurate as well. I understand that, and I understand the deadline, but it's got to be done correctly.
How big of a deal is it to be noted on the audit that we missed the date?
You know, a good audit, okay, if you talk with your auditors, a good audit, you should have maybe 20 to 25 findings within your audit, okay? This is a finding that we can easily avoid, because this will end up becoming, and it won't be in this audit that we have starting in November, it will be the next audit that we have. No, it would be this audit.
But the finding would be that we held off on the report.
That we
because we
failed,
weren't sure it's accurate.
the audit finding would be failed to submit annual financial report in a timely manner.
I wouldn't have a problem with that, because
We need it. We know why.
we want to file something that is correct.
Does Ariana have something to say?
I was trying to get Monica permission so she could just put it at the end. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain, first of all, are there any more questions? No.
So I just wanted to make one more statement before you guys go ahead and go on. I'm presenting this to you as I got it, okay?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just trying to, I'm not here to defend or besmirch or anything else, people that came here before me, but the facts are what the facts are. So,
Our confidence, though, I'll speak for myself, but extremely high with your knowledge and ability to, especially having to swallow something this big in the short period of time that you've been here. But this is hopefully the only problem.
Okay. Any motions on the floor to, so do we potentially want to, do you think 2 days you can find some answers to this, or what's the reality of this?
so here's the reality. Within an hour, I can go through, make adjustments without research, and just blindly make that a positive $558,000. I can do that. Within 20 minutes, I can do that. But it doesn't go back to the point of actually being able to do the research or anything else.
It needs to be.
Is 2 days enough to get the research done? Like I said, I spent about 3 hours on it, and I couldn't come up with that number, the number that's there. You know, there's other smaller amounts all within the debt service account. You know, there's a $20 here, $50 here. I was looking at the 4 big payments is what I was looking at, and I couldn't come up with the number.
So you, and correct me if I'm not saying this correctly, but you're thinking that the 15th is Thursday, is that right? That if we get together Thursday afternoon, we can have some sort of answer on the proper route to take here. Whether it is file it with some paperwork, acknowledge it, or.
Here's what I can say. I can make that number whatever you want it to be. With it, that's
I'm
okay.
not here.
Yeah. No, but.
You know I can't hear
Yes.
this, okay, so.
But I can take that negative $558,725 and make it a positive $558,725. I can do that within a matter
Well, also,
of 20 minutes.
But
But to know exactly what the issue was, I don't know if I can get you that within 2 days. And I'm just being honest with you.
So this is kind of like saying, my checkbook doesn't reconcile with the bank, so doggone it, I'm just gonna add or subtract whatever I need to make it look the same as the bank. And I'll figure it out later. And that's good until my husband writes a check.
As long
And
as you
now
have
we have
checks left, you're good.
So, I mean, doing an adjusting entry,
No.
it is,
So I can say, I'll say this. There are other funds that are the cash-based funds, okay? We'll take like student activities as an example, okay? And I don't know what the clubs are right off the top of my head, but chess club may be off with the county by $20, robotics may be over by $40. But when you add up the sum, what's in student activities is equal to student activities. So, yes, there's gonna be an adjusting journal entry in student activities, so that what the county says is a chess club is exactly what I say is a chess club. So we've got those throughout our cash that need to be corrected as well.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Just trying to get a feel for the body, well, just basically, why would we want to avoid an amendment at a future date? With the deadline, say you can't meet the deadline for Friday, you spoke about, Thursday, you spoke about filing an amendment after the fact. Is there a reason why we would not want to do that? Are there any negatives to that?
I think
I
just,
mean, we do it all the time in the finance world, even in our taxes. We have an issue, you always have a chance to kind of review yourself.
I see what you're saying, but the reality is that when that document is submitted to the state with our signatures on it, it needs to be correct, in my mind. And personally, if we have an audit finding down the road and we know that it was there because we wanted to make sure things were done correctly, then so be it.
And so
But if we can't meet the deadline, once again, I mean, we're gonna try, obviously, I'm not saying don't try and let it go through. But if you're not gonna meet the deadline, what can you do? But can't pull a piece out of it.
Well,
I just don't wanna let that happen.
but I guess my point with the question earlier was, unfortunately, we have basically 2 work days to figure out if there are options available to do so. Whether that is to file it with additional paperwork that addresses the issue, or talking to the auditors and say, maybe it's not, certainly it doesn't sound like enough time to get it done, I get that. But there's no harm in trying to take that road. And as far as the document needs to be accurate. It's certainly with my signature, and I'm fairly certain everyone's in agreement here that that's the case, so.
I absolutely have no problem in accepting a lot of criticism that we failed to meet a deadline to file an annual financial report, and I'll be happy to explain why. I agree.
Agreed? Okay, are there any more questions before we entertain a motion to do whatever it is we would like to do? Okay? I have a motion, please.
I don't think there is a motion, is there? Monica?
Unless it's to potentially table this until Wednesday or have another meeting on
Well-
Wednesday or Thursday to figure it out, or potential meeting.
we're supposed to approve the annual financial report, we're not doing that.
Well, let's want to continue it and see if we can get more answers, maybe from the auditors, see if we can get an extension.
I think it's worth a couple days to try and figure out what our options are. And I would think that we could schedule a meeting Thursday afternoon sometime, and maybe everything will fall in line and we'll be set.
At least we have direction.
But yeah, exactly, we need some direction to make this happen, so. With that in mind, I'll entertain a motion to continue this until Thursday meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Okay.
Mr. Ariano?
Aye.
Mrs. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Osterling?
Aye.
Mr. Allery?
Yes.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes. So we will continue this.
Can you set a time?
Yeah, do you want to set a time while we're here? Might as well.
Does 1 o'clock work? Because usually it has to be submitted by 5
It
PM.
has to be submitted by 5 PM and has to have at least 3 board member signatures.
Is too late?
No,
I can do 2. 2 on for me is okay for Thursday. But I have a long meeting that morning, so.
Is 2 okay for
We need at least 3 members here.
3 members?
Call in or otherwise.
If you need me there, I can
We
be
need
there.
them present to sign
They
the
need to be
document
present to
if it
sign.
gets passed.
We need 3 signatures. Will you be here, Mr. Allery? Thursday at 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Shelley, you're good? Okay, perfect. Okay, Thursday at 2.
Okay, motion passes to Thursday to continue this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where were we? Revision to 2021 school calendar.
And here, we just had to update the calendar. The days have not changed of instruction, but we did have to change the appointed days that we changed from early release to the ending Wednesdays. And we refer conferences to the spring, so we have more information to share with you.
I move to accept the revision to the 2021 school calendar.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion?
Mr. Ariano?
Aye.
Mrs. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Osterling?
Yes.
Mr. Allery?
Yes.
And Mr. McGivern?
Yes, motion passes, thank you. Civics Club trip to DC.
Right. We're asking for a motion to approve the civics trip to DC this year, so we are going to hopefully get our kids on board and
Cross our fingers.
offer our students who are freshmen now to be able to come as well.
I'd like to see a presentation by Ms. Latham.
What?
Okay, I have some questions, so go ahead. I'll entertain a motion for the,
I move to approve the civic trip to Washington DC.
Second.
Second.
motion and a second, some discussion? The discussion I have is question I have is the high school kids. Seems to me, I don't know, 8th graders and high school kids, is that a good mix?
We would,
It's a whole different sort of world.
we would definitely, it'd be something new that we have to work through, but I think the civics club is, the company that we use is extremely diligent and vigilant about watching the kids, not mixing the students, going with our recommendations, so I'm not real concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the funding and us being able to use funds from last year for students that are now in high school. So we've been having conversations with Mr. Schubert on that.
they are no longer our students, so we cannot use tax credit money for students.
You know, I don't know the definition of that because we're paying their tuition at the high school and their transportation. So how are they not our students?
Because they are now actually registered at Walden Grove High School, they are not registered students.
So can you do a pass-through through one of the foundations or the school to loop that money back
That's
around?
tax credit money, I can't do anything with it unless, except for what it's specifically designated.
I think, have we talked about?
I think that needs to be investigated because I have a lot of money in that, and my family does as well as other families from last year. They're no fault of themselves. I'm not policing this at you, don't take it that way. But okay, maybe my argument doesn't have a thing, but there's gotta be a way around it.
So let me ask you this, son or daughter?
Son,
Son, would your son be willing to go to Washington DC as a chaperone?
I suppose, I don't, yeah.
Okay, then I have no issue in paying for chaperones out of the tax credit money that has already been
That's
allotted
what
to
we
that.
call them. That's cool.
Isn't he like 15?
I do need help.
But Mr.
Sam.
Sam.
He's very mature.
Chaperone will also be chaperoned.
Right.
Chaperone.
This is
So-
a junior chaperone.
He's a very mature 15-year-old.
The one thought, like, is if we do that, is we talk to, Chris Walsh, who is the guy with American Civics. He's amazing and wonderful, is putting our high school chaperones on a different bus. So we're keeping the high schoolers away from the 8th graders.
Different meeting maybe, or one?
I don't know if we get away with that, on a different floor of the hotel. They do have, she's been with us for a few years. Yeah, this amazing, wonderful lady who sits in the hallways at night. She is wonderful. She has no issue telling you to get in your room, whether you are a child or an adult. My husband has been yelled at by her before for trying to go out to go get ice.
Ice out of the ice machine and she told me to get back to my room.
She, we had last year, or no, 2 years ago, I'm sorry, one of our boys' room was a little rambunctious, and she walked into that room and made them clean it, and they had to scrub the room because they decided to get into a little bit of a food fight. So she would definitely, she's on it, and Chris always has somebody who is on it, who would keep them separate from the other kids. They're not allowed to mingle into each other's rooms or anything like that. So,
we need 5 or her?
yeah,
5 or
she's
6?
Well,
amazing.
so that's part of the company's job is they actually, and we've gone on trips where our numbers were lower and we were combined with other schools at the same time. And this is what he does for a company, right? So he works that out. Every time that I've been, and I've been 4 times, like we go on a cruise down the Potomac on a boat, and there's always another school on there with us, and it's just cost of doing business to do that. They have the proper chaperones, they've got the proper transportation. We've got groups that are so large that have to take 2 buses anyway, and that's all his headache, and he takes care of that. And we just have to tell him kind of what our guidelines are and what our expectations would be. And then he works that out with the hotel, with transportation, with airfare. And so that would all be stuff that we definitely, as Christy has said, work with Chris, who's been, American Civics has been working with the school for who knows how long, well before I've been here, and I've been here 13 years. So that's how long he's had our contract. Christina, you may know more to that than I do, but every year we put it out to bid as per law to 3 different groups. His numbers are right in there, and the quality of product that he provides is really good, as well as the supervision that we get from his company as well. We've had kids get sick, and he takes them to, he has a nurse on staff who deals there. One time we had to have a kiddo go to the hospital. He accompanies them, takes care of everything, and got him right back in with the trip with us once the issues were taken care of. So that's kind of little background on the American Civics and the organization that kind of clears up some of those concerns that we may have by doing that. But yes, it is.
So you've already talked to him about this potential of a larger group?
No, we haven't gone on with, that was something new after we initially talked to Chris to get his bid on our trip. So if that is something that admin and everyone decides to go forward with, then yes, we will need to discuss it with him and finalize all of those details with him. The first payment of the deposit is due, I think it's the first week of November. So we have to kind of figure this out and get that going now, because we're gonna have to do new deposits for everybody and all that. So it's something we're gonna really have to sit down and discuss and finalize, so I can get to Chris by the end of the week and let him know and discuss anything with him.
What we do know is that he has had, the same time we've been there, he's had high school groups at the same time, in the same hotel, using the same transportation stuff as our district with our middle schoolers. So he's been able to juggle that before. It would just look different for us because we've never seen our high schoolers there at the same time as our middle schoolers. But he is able to
to do that and accommodate that, so.
There's thousands of kids there at a time. If they want to get in trouble, they can.
And we
But
have,
they won't. They
and
won't.
I will say, we have an amazing rap sheet with the company. He loves having us come back because our kids are so well behaved.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. You're in a huge city, in a hotel room. There's lots of opportunities. Our kids have done amazing, year in and year out, which has made it feasible for us to continue to go. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I know I've talked to Mr. McGibbon about every year we have, anywhere from 5 to 10 kids that have never been on an airplane, and probably 6 or 7 of those have never been out of the state of Arizona. And so we have opportunities every single year where you're not just talking the enrichment of learning about our country, our founding fathers, government, how it works, the in and outs, the history of the United States, but just the mere travel and getting experience life from a perspective that some of them, because of financial restraints, haven't been able to have. I've seen that. I know Christina's been on some trips, and we get to see kids that, eating in the Hard Rock Cafe was one of the biggest. We've asked kids, what's the best thing you ever did? Hard Rock Cafe. Really? Out of everything we did? Because they never eat out. So this is an opportunity where just those things that we take for granted, that have had a chance to travel, there's a lot of benefits to be given from going to Washington, D.C., which if we could make that happen for the kids that worked for it and earned that last year because of the pandemic, if we can make that happen, that'd be really awesome. And I think Chris would respect that.
I think we have to make it happen.
So
We have to find a solution for this. Those kids need to go.
that comes down to Mr. Schubert. And
So
I
we'll
just
give
wanna
him a
reiterate-
couple days before we hit him with this again.
I just want to reiterate, if they are not my students, I cannot use tax credit money on them. If they are going as chaperones, that is perfect. There's nothing that says that I cannot spend the tax credit money on the chaperone.
So I do know that chaperones, are like $200 more than what a student cost is, so we will have to talk to Chris and discuss it and
see if he can give
tell
us
him
a
we need to do, see if he'll
discounted
take
rate.
that $200 off for the kiddos.
We will figure this out.
Hand them a pencil sharpener.
This will happen.
Shelley's a prolific fundraiser, so I'm sure we won't have that issue.
That's great, because we're gonna need it, Shelley, for this year. We're already 2 months behind
All right.
in our fundraising.
We'll get it.
Lots of bricks.
Well, and part of it, we didn't get 100% refund last year either,
Right.
so.
Well, and I don't know how that's gonna affect, so that's something that we'll sit down with Greg and with admin and, with Chris and get those done, but we'll wait until after Thursday. Maybe we'll sit down Friday or Monday.
And a lot of it comes down to
So we can start to have these conversations and
The-
make plans.
these kiddos that are now gone, that are in high school. They also have other lives and other things going on, and this is not dates that they have pre-planned. I anticipate that many of them probably will not be going, even given that opportunity.
Yeah, they would have to miss school,
Yeah,
so.
because they would be missing school, and it wouldn't necessarily be approved because it's not through their school. So there's, they may be in sports at the end of the school year, and it wouldn't be excused. Where here at middle school, our league adjusts the sports to accommodate all of our schools that go to Washington, D.C. We end sports, and so high schoolers will have to make that really tough decision. And so I do not anticipate that we would, how many did we have, Christina, last year, do you remember?
I don't remember.
Scheduled, I want to say it was well over 40.
It's usually about 50-ish.
Steve, you might know better.
Yeah, it was in the high, it was,
We're
yeah,
usually
it was,
high 40s,
90%
low
of
50s.
kids.
Yeah,
depending.
so high 40s, low 50s. I honestly do not see anywhere close to that many, just because of the commitments that high schoolers are involved with.
Well, I just want to say, when I was here at the good old Continental, my trip was a camping trip to Mount Lemmon, so.
In the van that we currently
In the
have.
van that we're still trying to. With all 12 of us.
Did you have to push it back then?
I'm sorry, I digress. Okay.
Mr. President, we call for the vote.
Let's do it.
We gotta get this one done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Adriano?
It was brand new back
Mr. Adriano?
He will donate the first $1,000.
Mrs. Kite?
Aye.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes.
Mr. Allery?
Yes.
And Mr. McKibben?
Absolutely. Let's do this, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board and school events.
Okay, so they're listed there. The only change is we did have open house scheduled for October 21st. We are not going to do that. We are looking at moving it to November or early December so that since we just got students back on campus, gives them a chance to get acclimated and get student work along the walls for teachers to see. Also, I just want to say that November, plan for a busy board member because we would like to see our Pulse of the Month back somehow. Our teachers being recognized for our horseshoe awards. We do have years of service recognitions that we put on hold at the end of last year due to school closure, so we really would like to bring those teachers in. So we're just hoping to have celebrations in November for our board meeting.
Go. Any more information? Okay, go ahead, I have something at the end, but go ahead, anything?
Just two thoughts. One is on that. I mean, what about on those days, is starting a little earlier and having it outside for the cult recognition and stuff, just as a thought. So, you know, whether it's a drive-by or by the flagpole, spaced out,
Good
or
idea.
something like that.
We've also talked about with the committee that is over, the PBIS committee, that's
Yeah.
kind of over that. There has been discussion about starting that up and doing that, but instead of doing a school-wide assembly, doing it in the classroom itself, so the class still recognizes, and then either A, we just recognize and read their names off for the time being at the board meeting, or B, we do accumulation like at the end of the school year, where we make a big celebration of it, like in the cafeteria or the gym, and all those that are recognized would come and get their t-shirt at that time. So that committee has been talking about ways to make it work, if you will, but still give the students the recognition and the kudos that they deserve for their hard work and efforts.
And remember in our conversations of discussing schools that really are doing well or doing better and minimizing the classroom interruptions for the students during the day. So we really are trying to be cognizant of that. And I think when we have them here in the board meeting this evening, it gives them the recognition. We're really looking at trying to minimize the classroom interruptions and not having kindergartners have to sit through first, second, and third grade awards. So just kind of getting them in and out. So we'll be working on that.
And the second thing would just be some comments from the community. And it's kind of on both sides of the fence, is why are we the only school in Pima County that's open, not doing a staggered schedule, the hybrid version? And it's the handful that I've talked to, it's both sides of the fence, 50-50. So I don't want to get into either side, I just wanted to throw that out there.
And just to respond to that, in terms of our class sizes, that's where I say we're very fortunate that we have smaller class sizes and that we are able to fit all of our kids in a classroom 6 feet apart, or if they're close, socially distanced, where if we had 32 kids in a class or 30 kids in the classroom, we would be forced to go into a hybrid model with 15 at a time coming in. So I think, again, our team has done a really good job at, our classrooms are larger than a lot of other schools where they really can't even fit 24 to 26 kids in a classroom. So that's typically been my response to parents who have asked, okay,
That's
that
kind of what I said.
if we had more students, we would have been forced to go into a hybrid model. And it worked out with the students who are willing to be home, those 115 kids. Had all of the kids decided to come back, we would be in hybrid right now. So we're able to make it work out.
Okay.
I also wanted to just add real quick, just the PR that we've gotten, that we've received. I don't know if you saw this on GBR Now, but Mr. Papritz wrote Green Valley's little school with a big heart, still going strong after 100+ years. And this question came up in the presentation, Mr. Osterly, on the Guayul, and whether we still had the evergreen shrubs in our area, and I said I would ask Mr. McGibbon, because I don't know, does anybody
He
know?
called me, that's
The
the
rubber-
original rubber tree
Rubber tree.
plant
Yes,
that was planted way back when.
do we still have any?
So this guy is trying to find one to donate to the school. His name's David. Because he thought it would be kind of a cool tie-in.
See if I can dig one up somewhere.
Okay, and also, if you haven't seen, also in Home Health and Life is the article about our little Continental School Celebration Plaza, little school with a big heart, that's gonna be put up there in the front with the brick. So, I mean, we've had a lot of really good media, so it's exciting because we're on the map.
I went to preschool in that white building, just want to let you know that.
I wondered, well, you know, people in this 19.
There I am right there.
1949.
When Wednesday's paper, and in Wednesday's paper, they posted an editorial from Mr. McNary.
Oh, okay.
And then I had one that was posted yesterday, yesterday.
Nice, so thank you. I appreciate all the positive publicity that we can continue to do to spread the good word of Continental.
Was the white man in the picture?
No, actually, it's not. We know the good
Who
one.
bought the area?
The new one will.
Horse buddy.
Really?
Yeah, the only comment I have is, I read a pretty sizable article that 4 Pima County schools were designated A+. Just recently, 2 of which were elementary schools in the Sahuarita School District. I would only say, let's challenge ourselves, our administration, our staff, that Continental is one of those schools. So, as soon as we can possibly get it there.
Yes, and if you remember, Ms. Cuevas sat on the visiting team, so she went through the process of the A+ evaluation, so she knows exactly what they're looking for and to start writing up our grant. But one of the things is that the principal has to have been the principal for 3 years.
Okay.
So once we get her to her 3-year mark, we'll definitely be putting her our grant
And she'll probably have a
application.
doctorate by then.
She will definitely have a doctorate.
Well, just welcome back, and, I hope that you can find a solution for the Civics Club trip. As a former Washington DC liver, I used to love to see the kids come to DC, and you wouldn't believe what those kids do. They're so well behaved.
our
They're
kids
so
are
well
good.
behaved. So, but anything we can do to help, just
Yeah.
let us know.
Thank you.
Mr. Sergio?
Yeah, hey, I'm super bummed out that I'm not there in person. This is my last school board meeting, and it's been a wonderful, phenomenal 4 years at Continental as one of your school board members, and it's been a true honor to know that we've come a long way.
Yeah,
Why won't you be here in November and December, sir?
You have 2 more meetings, mister. Don't be trying to ride off into the sunset so fast.
What do you mean?
You're on until the end of the school year, the end of the calendar year.
December, so you have November, December, October, November, December board meetings.
You might want to save that
My
speech.
term ended November 4th.
No,
Oh,
sorry,
December 31st.
We'll just strike that from the record.
December 31st, so save your speech.
What the heck?
You have to cancel that vacation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, my lord. I'll be in Guatemala in November.
Not on the 9th.
Unless you can call it
Thank
in.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Strike that from the
That's all
record.
Amos are going to.
Not yet, I am.
Ms. Rico, we had a nice party to honor your service to Continental, and we thought it was very appropriate as a board that not only your service to Continental, but 30 years of amazing service to kids all over Southern Arizona. That's something to be very, very proud of, and we're proud of you, and we want to thank you. And it says, in recognition of 30 years of educational excellence presented by the governing board of Continental Elementary School District 39.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
Beautiful. Thank you. Very nice.
It's been an amazing career to be very, very proud of.
Thank you. Appreciate
You
it.
betcha, you betcha.
Appreciate you all all very, very much. Very nice, thank you.
And Steve will give you the batteries.
Oh, okay, good.
They're in my house.
Thank you, thank you.
No, this is it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so very much.
You wanna put it
Really
back
appreciate
in
you
your
all, yes. No, I'll put it in my office, so Steve can put batteries in it. Okay, so thank you.
For batteries.
It's right in front of the.
I got too many things to
Right
fix
where the
to worry about your battery.
Thank you very much.
I got a plan.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna help you.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
tell you in a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we need to recess for some documents.
Yes, I put them in front of your.
Okay, we are officially recessed. A few moments to take care of some documents.